Hello, my name is Jessica Rivera, and today I'm going to explain how to use Microsoft Excel to create a frequency table, calculate statistical measures, and generate a scatter plot as part of the Biology 3740 course. Here I have opened a new Excel file, and I have copied my data, which I have the students' heights in centimeters of the section M03 from the academic year 2018 to 2019, with N included in my title, which is 34. I only have two columns, which include my data and its absolute frequency, and I'm going to now add my relative frequency and my accumulative frequency. Just to make sure it looks like the rest of my table, I'm going to highlight it, put it in bold, wrap my text, centralize it, and finally add borders to my two new columns. Okay. So we know that the absolute frequency represents the total number of times a specific value occurs within the data set. The relative frequency is the percentage of total observations for each value, and the accumulative frequency is the accumulated percentage up until that point. So I'm going to start by calculating my relative frequency, which is my absolute frequency divided by my n, which is 34. It's important to put a $sign before and after that letter, because that way Excel knows that I want to divide by the same cell, and it'll be the same formula copied. So I just drag it down, and I want both my relative and my accumulative frequency in percentage, so I'm going to change that and centralize. Now the way that I know that this is correct is if it sums up to 100%. So I'm going to go up until the top bar, look for the sum icon, click on it, make sure that it's correct. I have C3 and C16, enter 100%, so we know that that is correct. Now I'm going to calculate my accumulative frequency, which again we know is the accumulated percentage up until that point. So the first one is equal to itself, and the second one is equal to the accumulative frequency up until that point, which would be the sum of the second. It would be the same for all, so I just drag it down, and it did give us 100%, so we know that that is also correct. Now I'm going to create my statistical measures. So we'll calculate my statistical measures. We have the mean, the median, the mode, variance, standard deviation, and standard error. Because we are working with grouped data, I'm going to create a new table to sort of visualize better how we can calculate these statistical measures. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy paste. You can either right click and press copy, or you can do Command C, and again you can right click and press paste, or you can do Command V to paste. So now that I've pasted, I'm going to first create the columns that I will need. So the first one is my data multiplied by my absolute frequency. So I'm going to write here data multiplied by my absolute frequency. My second column is my mean. My third column, and this would be to calculate my variance, I'm going to do x represents my data minus my mean, which is represented by x with a bar on top, but in this case I'm going to capitalize the x since I can't put the bar on top. Then I'm going to square, bring that to the power of 2, so x minus my mean to the power of 2. And lastly, we're going to take that and multiply it by my absolute frequency. Before I continue, I'm going to go and add my borders so it's easier to visualize. There we go. Now I'm going to start with my data. times my absolute frequency. That way I ensure that I have all of my data points accounted for. So data times absolute frequency, and I'm going to drag this down. That's my data times my absolute frequency, and then I want the sum of that number. So I'm going to back up to the bar on top, look for the sum icon, make sure that it's correct, E29, E42, enter, and that will be the sum of my data times my absolute frequency, and with that I can calculate my mean. So it's the sum that we just calculated divided by n, which is 34. Again, making sure to add the dollar sign, but in this case I'm going to add it to both. That way when I drag it down, it'll be the same formula copied. So we know that the mean here is 163.76. Before I move on, I'm going to centralize, and I'm going to fix my significant numbers. So we know that the mean is 163.76. Our median, we're going to look at our n value, which is 34, which is an even number. So we're going to take 34 divided by 2. Make sure you put the equals. 34 divided by 2, 17. So I'm going to go to my accumulative frequency, and I'm going to look for the data that is just above 17. In this case, it is 20.59%, which is equal to 154.9 on the chart. So my mean is 154.9. Now the mode is the data that is most repeated, so I'm going to look at my absolute frequency and search for the highest number, which in this case is 5. That is equal to 165.1 on my chart. So my mode is 165.1. Now to calculate the variance, I'm going to go back to these columns that I created, and I'm going to do my data minus my mean. And again, add the dollar sign so that when I copy paste, it is the same formula all the way down. Fix my significant numbers and centralize. Now the reason that we put it to the power is to eliminate that negative number. So you can either directly write that to power it, or you can use the formula, which is power. You click on the cell 2 and you close the parentheses. Drag it all the way down. Fix my significant numbers and centralize. And lastly, again, to account for all of our data, we multiply by the absolute frequency. So I'm going to take this cell and multiply it by my absolute frequency. Drag down. And what I want here is the sum again. So we're going to look for the sum, make sure it's correct. I29, I42, enter, and that is my sum. And in order to calculate my variance, we know that it is the sum divided by n minus 1. Enter, that is my variance. Gonna fix my significant figures. Standard deviation is equal to the square root of our variance, so the formula would be SQRT. Click on the variance, close parentheses, fix my significant figures, and our standard error is the standard deviation divided by the square root of n. Close parentheses, and that would be our standard error. Now I'm going to make the scatter plot. Let me add the borders. And centralize. Okay, now we can make the scatter plot. So to make the scatter plot, I'm going to go back to my original table, and I'm going to click on my data. I'm going to hold it there, press and hold Command, and then I'm going to click on my relative frequency. and then I'm going to click Insert. And I want, these are all the charts that we can use, but I want the scatter plot. So I'm going to choose this one. And now we see that I have a lot of space here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click, Format Access, and I'm going to change my minimum to 140.0. Now I'm going to fix my chart title, which I'm going to title it Height versus relative frequency. I'm going to label my x-axis my height. So in order to do that, I'm going to right click on my chart, and then on the top column here we have Add Chart Element, Access Title, and let's do the primary horizontal first, and I'm going to label it Height in centimeters. And now I'm going to, again, primary vertical, and I'm going to label it relative frequency and put parentheses percent. That is my scatter plot. Now, finally, I'm going to go to Page Layout, Page Setup, and I'm going to go to Custom Header. Here in the center, I'm going to write my name, the course, and section. And then on the top right corner, I'm going to add an image. So I'm going to add this image here in the top right corner. Insert. Click OK. And I'm going to do Custom Footer. And in the left section, I'm going to write the date, which is, well, we could write the date manually, but we can also put it here. So we have our calendar, insert date, and I'm also going to insert the time. So I'm going to press enter so I can put it on the side, or you can leave it right next to it, but I'm going to put it under. So then time, click OK, click OK. And if you press Command P, it'll give you a print preview on the MacBook. And as we can see, my image is taking up all of the space. So I'm going to press Cancel here, and I'm going to go to Insert, click on Head and Footer, click where the top right corner is so that I can format the picture and change the size. I'm going to put 1, and that does format your picture to a smaller size. Then we can go back to Page Setup, Page Layout, Page Setup, and on the margins we can click horizontally and vertically to change the position of our information. Click OK. In View, I press Normal. This is the way that it's done on the MacBook. And then again, Command P so that we can check our information. And there we have it. Thank you for watching.